my brother stood up at Sunday dinner and announced he's moving into my apartment. Everyone went silent except him. I pulled out the letter Dad left me. Let me back up. My name is Rachel. I'm 32 years old. I work as a project manager for a tech startup downtown. And for the last 3 years, I've lived alone in my late father's apartment. Not our father's apartment. Not the family apartment. My apartment. But my brother didn't see it that way. The apartment is a small 2-bedroom on the 4th floor of a building Dad bought back in the 90s. Hardwood floors. Big windows facing east. Morning light pours through the kitchen every single day. Dad lived there for 20 years. He raised us there after Mom passed when I was 9. Every corner of that place holds a memory. The crack in the bathroom tile from when my brother dropped a shampoo bottle. The pencil marks on the doorframe tracking our heights year after year. The coffee stain on the kitchen counter that never came out no matter how hard Dad scrubbed. When Dad got sick 3 years ago, I moved back in to take care of him. I left my own place across town. I rearranged my work schedule. I learned how to cook his favorite meals, even though I'd never been good in the kitchen. My brother Kyle visited twice a month. Maybe. He lived an hour away with his wife, Jenna, and their 2 kids. He'd show up on Sundays, stay for lunch, and leave before dinner. He'd ask Dad how he was feeling. Dad would smile and say he was fine. Kyle would nod and check his phone. I don't blame him for having a life. But I was the one who sat with Dad during chemo. I was the one who held his hand when he couldn't sleep. I was the one who read to him when his eyes got too tired. When Dad passed, it was quiet. Peaceful. He went in his sleep on a Tuesday morning in May. I found him when I brought in his breakfast. The room smelled like lavender from the diffuser I'd set up the night before. The curtains were open. Sunlight was streaming in. He looked calm. I called Kyle. He cried on the phone. He said he'd be there in an hour. He showed up 2 hours later with Jenna and the kids. The kids didn't understand why Grandpa wasn't waking up. Jenna hugged me and said she was sorry. Kyle stood in the hallway and stared at the wall. At the funeral, Kyle gave a speech. He talked about how Dad taught him to ride a bike. How Dad used to take him fishing every summer. How Dad was the best father anyone could ask for. Everyone cried. I cried too. But when it was over, Kyle pulled me aside. He asked if Dad had left a will. I said yes. He asked if I'd seen it. I said no. The lawyer called us in a week later. Dad's will was simple. He left the apartment to me. He left his savings, about $40,000, to Kyle. He left his car to Kyle's oldest son. Kyle didn't say anything during the reading. He just nodded. He signed the papers. He shook the lawyer's hand. On the way out, he stopped me in the parking lot. You got the apartment, he said. Yeah, I said. Makes sense, he said. You lived there. I thought that was the end of it. For 3 years, I kept living there. I didn't change much. I kept Dad's bookshelf in the living room. I kept his favorite mug in the kitchen cabinet. I even kept his old jacket hanging by the door. It still smelled like him. Kyle and I saw each other on holidays. Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter. We'd have dinner at his place or mine. The kids would run around. Jenna would ask how work was going. Kyle would talk about his new promotion at the warehouse. Everything seemed fine. Until last month. It was a Sunday in September. Kyle texted me that morning and asked if I wanted to come over for dinner. I said sure. I showed up at 6 with a bottle of wine and a store-bought pie. The kids answered the door. They hugged me and dragged me inside. Jenna was setting the table. Kyle was in the kitchen grilling chicken. The house smelled like garlic and rosemary. We sat down to eat. The kids talked about school. Jenna talked about her new job at the dentist's office. I talked about a project I was managing at work. Kyle was quiet. About halfway through dinner, he stood up. He cleared his throat. He looked around the table like he was about to make an announcement. So, he said, I've been thinking. Everyone stopped eating. We're running out of space here, he said. The kids are getting bigger. We need more room. Jenna nodded. I nodded too. I figured he was about to say they were looking for a bigger house. And I realized, he said, we already have more room. I frowned. Dad's apartment, he said. It's just sitting there. My stomach dropped. It's not just sitting there, I said. I live there. Yeah, but you don't need all that space, he said. It's a 2-bedroom, you're just one person. I stared at him. We have 4 people, he continued. The kids need their own rooms. It makes more sense for us to live there. Kyle, Jenna said softly. She looked at me and then back at him. I'm not kicking you out, Kyle said quickly. You can find another place, something smaller. It'll be better for you anyway. Better for me, I repeated. Yeah, he said. You're always saying you're too busy for a social life. Maybe if you lived closer to downtown, you'd go out more. I couldn't speak. My hands were shaking. When are you planning to move in? Jenna asked him carefully. I was thinking next month, Kyle said. That gives Rachel enough time to pack. Kyle, I finally said. That apartment is mine. It was Dad's, he said. And he left it to me. He left me money, Kyle said. You got the apartment, but it's still a family apartment, and I'm family. So am I. Yeah, but you're one person, he said again. We're a family of 4, we need it more. And I stood up. The chair scraped loudly against the floor. I'm not giving you my apartment, I said. Rachel, Kyle said. Be reasonable. I am being reasonable, I said. That apartment is legally mine, you can't just take it. I'm not taking it, he said. I'm asking you to do the right thing. The right thing. Yeah, he said. Dad would have wanted us to share. I felt like I'd been slapped. Dad left it to me, I said. If he wanted you to have it, he would have put your name on it. Kyle's face turned red. Maybe he didn't think I'd need to ask, he said. Maybe he thought you'd be a good sister and offer. I grabbed my purse. I didn't say goodbye to anyone. I walked out the front door and got in my car. I sat in the driveway for 10 minutes crying. I didn't hear from Kyle for a week. I thought maybe he'd realized how ridiculous he sounded. I thought maybe Jenna had talked some sense into him. I was wrong. The following Sunday, my phone rang. It was my Aunt Diane, Dad's sister. She lived 2 hours away, and we only talked a few times a year. Rachel, she said. I just got off the phone with Kyle. My heart sank. He told me about the apartment situation, she said. There is no situation, I said. He said you're refusing to let him move in. Diane, I said slowly. Dad left the apartment to me, it's in the will. I know, sweetheart, she said. But Kyle has a family, you're just one person. I closed my eyes. He said the kids are sleeping in the same room, she continued. He said they're cramped. He said you have 2 bedrooms and you're barely home. That's not the point, I said. I'm not saying you have to give it to him, she said quickly. But maybe you could let them stay there for a little while, just until they find something bigger. No. Rachel. No, I said again. That apartment is mine. I'm not letting anyone else live there. She sighed. I just think, she said carefully, that your father would have wanted you two to work this out. Dice hung up. Over the next few days, I got 3 more calls. One from my cousin. One from a family friend. One from Kyle's wife. They all said the same thing. Kyle needs the space. You're being selfish. Family should help family. I stopped answering my phone. But Kyle didn't stop. 2 weeks later, I came home from work to find him standing outside my building. He was leaning against the brick wall with his arms crossed. We need to talk, he said. No, we don't, I said. I tried to walk past him. He stepped in front of me. I'm not leaving until you listen, he said. And I stopped. Fine, I said. Talk. I spoke to a lawyer, he said. My stomach twisted. And, I said. And he said that even though Dad left you the apartment, I might have a case for claiming part of it. On what grounds? On the grounds that Dad didn't update his will in 10 years, Kyle said. A lot changed in that time. I got married, I had kids. If he'd updated it, he might have split things differently. But he didn't update it, I said. Because he didn't have time, Kyle said. He got sick too fast. That's not my problem. It is if I take you to court. I stared at him. You're going to sue me. I don't want to, he said. But if you force me to, I will. Kyle, I said slowly. That apartment is all I have left of Dad. It's all I have left too, he said. No, I said. You have his money, you have his car, you have your memories. And you have the place he lived, Kyle said. You get to wake up in his home every day. You get to walk through his rooms. You get to pretend he's still there. His voice cracked. I don't get that, he said quietly. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. Then visit, I said. You're welcome anytime. It's not the same. I know. He looked away. I'm moving in next month, he said finally. Whether you like it or not. He walked away before I could respond. I went upstairs. I locked the door. I sat on the floor in Dad's bedroom and cried until my head hurt. The next morning, I called the lawyer who'd handled Dad's estate. His name was Mr. Levine. He was older, patient, and spoke slowly. Rachel, he said when I explained what was happening. Your brother has no legal claim to that apartment. He said he spoke to a lawyer. Then his lawyer is either lying or incompetent, Mr. Levine said. Your father's will is clear, the apartment is yours. But what if he sues me? He can try, Mr. Levine said. But he won't win, and it'll cost him a lot of money. So what do I do? You document everything, he said. Save every text, every email, every voicemail. If he tries to enter the apartment without your permission, call the police. I felt a little better. But not much. That afternoon, I went to the building manager's office. Her name was Mrs. Alvarez. She'd known my father for years. Rachel, she said when I walked in. How are you holding up? Not great, I admitted. I told her what was happening. Her face darkened. Your brother has no right, she said. That apartment is in your name, I have the lease right here. She pulled out a file and showed me. My name was on every page. If he tries to move in, she said, you call me immediately. Thank you, I said. She reached across the desk and squeezed my hand. Your father loved you very much, she said. He told me so many times, he was so proud of you. My eyes filled with tears. He left you that apartment for a reason, she continued. Don't let anyone take it from you. I nodded. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about what Kyle had said. About how I got to wake up in Dad's home every day. About how he didn't get that. Part of me understood. Part of me felt guilty. But a bigger part of me felt angry. Because I earned this apartment. I earned it by staying. By caring for Dad when Kyle didn't. By giving up my own life to make sure Dad wasn't alone. Kyle visited twice a month. I lived there for 2 years. Around midnight, I got up and went to Dad's closet. I hadn't gone through most of his things yet. It still felt too soon. But something was pulling me there. I opened the closet door. His clothes still hung neatly on the rack. His shoes were lined up on the floor. On the top shelf, there was a shoebox. I pulled it down. Inside were old photos, birthday cards, a few receipts, and an envelope. It was plain white. My name was written on the front in Dad's handwriting. My hands shook as I opened it. Inside was a letter. Rachel, if you're reading this, I'm gone. I'm sorry I didn't get to say goodbye the way I wanted to. There's so much I wish I could tell you. But the most important thing is this: the apartment is yours, not because of the will, not because of paperwork, but because you stayed. I know Kyle loves me. I know he tried. But you were the one who gave up everything to be here. You were the one who held my hand. You were the one who made me feel like I wasn't alone. I can't repay you for that, but I can give you a home. This apartment is yours, Rachel. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Not Kyle, not anyone. I love you, I'm proud of you, and I'll always be with you. Hey, Dad. I read it 3 times. Then I folded it carefully and put it back in the envelope. I knew what I had to do. The next Sunday, Kyle called. Family dinner at Aunt Diane's, he said. 6 o'clock, don't be late. I almost didn't go. But then I realized this was my chance. I showed up at 6 with the letter in my purse. The house was full. Aunt Diane, my cousin and his wife, a few family friends, Kyle and Jenna and the kids. Everyone was in the living room when I arrived. They all looked at me. Rachel, Aunt Diane said, I'm so glad you came. I forced a smile. We sat down for dinner. The table was crowded. Kyle sat directly across from me. Halfway through the meal, Aunt Diane cleared her throat. So, she said, Kyle mentioned there's been some tension about your father's apartment. I froze. I thought maybe we could all talk about it, she continued. As a family. I looked at Kyle. He was staring at his plate. There's nothing to talk about, I said. Rachel, Diane said gently. Kyle has a family, he needs space. I know your father left the apartment to you, but maybe. Maybe what? I interrupted. Maybe you could reconsider, she said. For the sake of the family. For the sake of Kyle's family, I corrected. We're all family, she said. I looked around the table. Everyone was watching me, waiting for me to back down. I reached into my purse. Dad left me a letter, I said. The room went silent. I pulled out the envelope and held it up. I found it last week, I said. It was in his closet. Kyle's face went pale. What does it say? Aunt Diane asked. I opened the envelope. I unfolded the letter. And I read it out loud. Every word. Every sentence. When I finished, no one spoke. Aunt Diane's eyes were wet. Jenna was staring at Kyle. Kyle was staring at the table. He wanted me to have it, I said quietly. Not because of the will, because I stayed. Rachel, Kyle started. No, I said. You don't get to explain this away. You don't get to pretend you didn't try to guilt me into giving up my home. I just thought. You thought you deserved it more, I said. You thought because you have kids, you have more of a right to it than I do. That's not. Yes, it is, I said. I folded the letter and put it back in the envelope. I'm not giving you the apartment, I said. I'm never giving you the apartment, and if you try to take me to court, I'll show this letter to the judge. Kyle didn't respond. I think, Aunt Diane said softly, we should all take a moment. And I stood up. I'm done taking moments, I said. I came here because I wanted everyone to hear this. I wanted everyone to know the truth. As I looked at Kyle, Dad loved you, I said. But he left the apartment to me, and I'm keeping it. And I walked out. No one followed me. 2 weeks later, Kyle called. I'm sorry, he said. I didn't respond. I was wrong, he continued. I shouldn't have pushed. I shouldn't have tried to guilt you. No, I said. You shouldn't have. I miss him, Kyle said. I miss Dad, and I thought if I could live there, it would feel like he was still around. I know, I said. But that's not fair to you. No, I agreed. It's not. Can you forgive me? I thought about it. Not yet, I said. But maybe someday. Okay, he said. He hung up. I haven't seen Kyle since. We text occasionally. Short messages. Nothing deep. But I'm okay with that. Because the apartment is still mine. The morning light still pours through the kitchen window. Dad's jacket still hangs by the door. And every time I walk through that door, I know I'm home. Not because of paperwork. Not because of a will. Because of love. Because I stayed. Would you ever stand up to your own family to protect what's rightfully yours? Have you ever had someone try to take something that wasn't theirs? Share your story in the comments and subscribe for more real stories like this one.